We already started the discussion with my colleagues before the time came for us. And we already have some positions that we want to share with you, and we want to have a lively discussion on. So I'm a lawyer since 1991. I've been doing intellectual property rights. So for me, as an artist, as an author, as a producer, and as an intellectual property rights lawyer, content stands first. Because content is what all the services are based on. So my position clearly will be that content should be respected and being used as a basis for a streaming platform or any related service. Authors and right owners should be entitled to receive fair remuneration. And whenever we talk about streaming platforms, we need to bear in mind the balance of interests of the content providers and the service providers. And I'm very happy that I have some opponents, probably, or partners that are providing streaming services. So this is a dialogue that has been going on for many years, and finally it starts to get a resolution. And here what I want to see is taking into consideration that the content is the core of the service, which model, and is it local or global, international, streaming service, the thing that someone needs to think about when developing a new model, or developing or transforming an older model of distribution of musical content to a newer one. So I would like to give the floor to my co-panelists. Pinie.
Hi everyone, my name is Pinie Wangl, and please let me introduce myself briefly. I'm chief editor of Xplore Music. This is a music streaming service like Spotify. This service has been introduced in Austria and Bulgaria last year. And we are planning to launch this service in this year in Serbia, Macedonia, Slovenia, Belarus, and Croatia. It's very difficult to launch a streaming service and to do this by ourselves. And as a telecom provider, I work for A1 Telekom Austria Group. And we're coming from the telco industry, and now we are starting to go into the entertainment and media business and to set up a very, very difficult topic to provide value-added service as music to our customer. And it's also a very exciting project. And also my colleague Kay sits in the audience, and she's responsible for Bulgaria. I'm very happy here to discuss with you.
Hi, my name is Bobby Ivanchevl, and I'm representing music service which is going to launch soon in Bulgaria. It's called Muzikata.bg, and it's specialized on streaming Bulgarian music only. It feels like kind of strange to speak in English in front of a maybe Bulgarian-speaking audience, and we have also foreign guests here, I'm sorry. But what I believe is that the streaming services should very much focus on localized content and somehow present this content based on the localized tastes of audience. And one of the problems we discussed with Pinie and Zaki out there in the cafe was that, for example, there is a very big problem in the tagging of music in the worldwide music streaming services like Spotify and Deezer. And you have Bulgarian pop-folk music, maybe you know about it, which is not well tagged in Spotify. And for example, band like, or a performer like Gloria or ARSIS is tagged as pop music or world music, and it's a kind of a strange to Bulgarian audience. And we firmly believe that we're going to be a niche service which is based on the localized content and also targeted to Bulgarians living outside Bulgaria, together with the ones living here in Bulgaria as well.
Before we move forward, in terms of the topic of the fireside chat, when we talk about global and local, we need to figure out what we mean. Whether we consider it local because it is with local content versus international or global, or it is local because the service is provided locally no matter what the content is. So this is something I really wanted to talk about and set the record straight when we talk about global versus local.
In terms of A1 Xplore Music, as I said, we create the platform by ourselves, and the solution coming from Claro Musica, which is developed from American Movie Group in Latin America. And American Movie Group has more than 50% share of Telecom Austria Group. That's why we are using the platform in Brazil and integrate this platform into Europe. So we are already acting internationally to work on our own solution of music streaming service, because many other telecom providers use Deezer or Spotify adding in their bundles, and that's it. But we do the more difficult job and doing this by ourselves, the own reporting, own payment towards the content providers. So it's really difficult, but we are doing it. And the good thing is we are using the technology and know-how from our partners in Latin America. So this is already a kind of international topic, but we strongly emphasize on local content. That's why we have in every country, if we launch the product, we have a local editor, chief editor, to plan the marketing activities, to set up the playlist strategies, to do the content update. So we have 100% manual, local, curated content. So this is what we also emphasize to cooperating with local labels, for example, with Virginia Records. And we sponsor artists like Christo or Scandal, and to do marketing activities and make them more famous than they already are.
So your architecture is global, but when you develop the service locally, you try to be locally specific in terms of content and in terms of service that you provide to the local
Exactly.
market.
The marketing communication is local-based and the content is local-based. And we can see in our data in Bulgaria and in Austria, there's really big demand for local music.
Yeah. So we have global with a local touch of color.
Yes.
And now we were going to have local with a touch of a global.
Yes,
Because,
that was my point. This is where I was heading to.
Because we are going to put our stress on, first of all, educating the local audience about new and older stuff. On the other hand, we're going to add some additional value services which are going to be to add value to our streaming services, like exclusives, premieres, like giveaways, like free downloads, etc. And on the other hand, what I believe is that we as service, we will start to invest into creating a local content ourselves.
Okay, so let me structure it a little bit better. If we accept that there are two steps, collecting and digging the repertoire, the content, and then developing around this content the service. So let's start with the challenges. Let's start with the local challenges, because it's global versus local challenges. So let's start with the most important challenges that you're facing when gathering the local repertoire.
First of all is to...
in terms of challenges.
Yes, as challenges, even to gather the repertoire.
Yeah.
Because I was in a very small town in the middle of the country, and I discovered a fantastic folklore album produced by a female performer. We cannot get in touch with her at all via phone. We cannot get in touch via email because the website is down now, and we cannot discover the producer of the album which we are interested in having in our streaming services. So one of the challenges is to gather the repertoire produced or owned by different master owners in the country.
How do you structure your content?
Based on the national taste of.
By age, by region, by genre?
Genre, definitely genre, and then every kind of, it's based, now we're talking about data thing. We're going to know what kind of audience listens to our music in the app based on their age, and we're going to give them some certain additional playlists based on the age. On the other hand, we're going to have some kind of podcasts in the future talking about new Bulgarian releases or something, so everyone can discover
So
the
is it
music
like a back,
by
is it like back catalog and new releases?
both.
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 But there will be a different marketing approach
Yes.
towards the back catalog and
Yes,
the new
we're
release.
going also to remind the audience about great Bulgarian music produced over the years as well, which is something I don't believe Spotify does at the moment.
So what I understand as far as local repertoire is concerned, and especially when it goes to the back catalog, one of the main challenges is to find the right owners
Yes.
to obtain the necessary
Yes.
agreement
Yes.
to include
Yes.
their recordings and their songs into your
Yes,
platform.
and that's why we developed a special dashboard where different people will be able to upload music directly into our system. And after approving the music and based on the contractual agreements they have, we're going to release it directly in the streaming app. This is something which Spotify or Deezer do not do with direct repertoire owners for uploading
They
their
are
music
offering
into
that
their
solution
system.
right now.
Yeah, some of them, yes.
Spotify started.
Yeah,
doing
I'm
this.
talking about individuals. You know, Spotify started thing,
Yeah.
and Deezer doesn't have it at
And
the moment.
also SoundCloud also trying to
SoundCloud
go
is-
to
it's
this
a different thing.
direction.
I knew I just had to lit the light,
Yeah,
and
so-
they
sorry.
will do the job. So
But basically, on the other hand, I'm sure that if everything goes successfully, we're going to be able to create our own content, which is created by Muzikata.bg, just like
produce new content.
yes,
Okay.
especially for the service.
Okay, is your service, does your service differentiate depending on the type of content? Or it's like
No,
more
we're going
general
to
service?
have everything. We're going to have everything, and then based upon genre, we're going to offer it to the audience.
Like what kind of
Classical,
services?
orthodox.
Okay, so give me an example. Take me as if I am 5 years old and I don't understand what you're telling me. Give me an example. What I'll be able to benefit from your
Well,
streaming
if you're
platform.
interested in Orthodox music released in Bulgaria, maybe in the 80s, we're going to have it, for example.
But will you target me in a certain way?
Yes, but then that is going to be properly on the second stage, because then we're going to know first what you're interested in, and then we're going to offer you the
So
the
I
music
need to
you like.
sign in.
Sorry?
I will need to sign into Muzikata.bg.
Yes, you listen to some music, the app will know what you're listening to, and then based on your interests, will offer you something like, similar to what
how
you're listening.
much this corresponds to what you're doing globally? How much of what Bobby just said on the way they develop the local service corresponds to your experience, what you have done globally so far, and how you further develop it locally?
We have similar challenges because the knowledge about music streaming service in our countries are still not so developed.
Yeah.
Speaking of artist management, labels have the proper knowledge about how to deal with digital music, and this is still in development. Sometimes we have to ask them, have you sent the file to the aggregators yet? So we will have the marketing campaign on time. So I have the feeling that most of the managers, they are not aware of how to deal with the aggregators and digital music.
I think that these new models are really developing very fast, and the business, like the content business, is still adjusting on how to manage their rights and how to make their production
And
more
also,
available.
Yeah, and also the listening behavior. I saw in Bulgaria there are many music televisions, and in Austria, most music will be listened on radio. So people have to change their behavior as well.
But my question here is, and this is something that has been bothering me quite a lot. Internet is a vast ocean of music. And in order for me to have a preference, I have to somehow listen to this new music. Well, if I'm a fan of a performer or of a group, I would eventually be interested in their follow-up album or their follow-up single or their follow-up video. So obviously, I will be myself proactively searching for new information and new production of this particular artist. But there are very many new artists that are trying to break through. And if we don't have the conventional media like radio, like music TV, or other channels, how the streaming platforms would help the consumers get a grasp of the large variety of new music production and form a music taste?
Actually, I can speak for Austria. Right now, the digital platform for music delivery are making the new artists well known. Not the radio station, not the TV stations. So,
How it is achieved?
for example, Spotify has a new release Friday, and on YouTube, there's a direct connection between artists and their fans. So they can create their community by their own, so they don't need this classical media anymore. So this is a new approach of the communication and also build up your own community and fans. And this is the new approach we discussed in our coffee break already. The new trend of the new musicians, they are actually influencers. So I mentioned Cardi B, for example, and also some of the Austrian artists. They were at first well known in Instagram or other media, and then become more famous through their music.
So you first become a celebrity and then you become an artist?
Yes. Actually,
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you see.
but this is the trend right now. This is how people build up their fan base, their community, and then communicate through music. I wouldn't say I like Cardi B, actually.
I don't, but it's a matter of taste. So, but then, okay, yeah, life is changing, I agree. But imagine that a genius composer creates a genius piece of work, but he's not an influencer. He's not interested in being on Instagram, on Facebook. He's interested in creating music, and this music is valuable, this music is beautiful, this music is worth listening to. So what would be the advice from a platform, streaming platform as yours, to such a creative person, how to break through, what to do?
Once I went to the concert of Chili Gonzalez. I don't know if you know them, a very well-known Canadian musician, and he said, if entertainment lost his audience, he become an artist.
Well, that's why I believe in. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let me finish,
Yeah, okay.
because the question, I didn't answer that question yet. Art, actually, you create for yourself, but entertainer, you create content for an audience. That will be some demands because people expect certain content, they have expectations, they want to have expectation of the tariff, the price, the content, and the communication. There are different kind of expectations. And if you do entertainment, you have to measure and reach that expectations.
Well, I will agree to disagree with you that we create art for ourselves. I think that the very purpose of art is an artistic expression in favor of the public, in favor of the audience.
Yes.
So the forms of attracting the audience to your art has changed a lot. Before I would paint a painting and I'll put it in a gallery. Now probably I'll take a picture of this painting and put it on my Instagram and I'll say, well, look what a great painter I am and what a beautiful painting I
I think
did.
you'll do a selfie in front of the painting.
Yeah, so what is this? Yeah, okay. So, but still, what I'm trying to get out of you is, besides being a passive platform to distribute the content, where is the proactive part of the streaming platform? So this is...
That's why I believe in the niche services, and I'm looking at Muzikata.bg as a niche service, because as a niche service we could tell the guys.
Very good answer.
Yeah,
Very
we could tell the guys, listen, there is a very brand new, very good classical stuff. Listen to it if you want. You just can notify the user if the user checks that he wants to be notified. On the other hand, I believe that the niche services are more flexible in order to offer different types of music to the consumers and educate them to a certain extent what is good to be listened to at the moment, apart from the new stuff we all have. You know, because the major services like Spotify and Deezer, they're somehow like delivery platforms. They're just delivery. Sorry?
No, it's just outside.
Okay. So Spotify and Deezer are more like delivery services to the customer, and the niche services are more like music discovery services.
So if I can put it that way, if I am a mainstreamer, I would go to Xplore Music and Spotify,
so,
and
yeah.
I will get everything. Something to play in my ears. But if I'm a hipster and I want to listen specific music, I'll go to a niche service. So could it be the answer to the topic that probably if you go global, you are more oriented to mainstream music?
I'm sure,
And if
yes.
you want to create a successful local streaming model, it is more recommendable to go into the niche services, like specific type of music or specific type of users that you are addressing.
I think so. Probably the answer is more yes-ish than no-ish.
I don't agree.
Yeah?
Because you have to imagine we receive daily more than 20,000 new releases in our platform. This is a huge file.
Yeah.
And we have more than 30 million songs in our service. So you cannot listen to all of them. So what's the key is? The key is called curation. So the curation is based on that vast of music. We set up a really good curation team based on local curation. Within those 30 million, there are partially, 80s Bulgarian, whatever song, and we can, have different kind of strategy on content to approach local people as well.
So you do have proactive strategy, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so good. We have like 8 minutes, and I think if we are done with, well, in terms of challenges, because the topic is challenges, I agree with Bobby that
Yes.
the greatest challenge
to
creating a local service that is aiming to become international or global is to secure the content, to dig it out, to secure it contractually, and to put it in your database. And then more or less you get into the mainstream business, how to make it popular, how to... what are the global challenges? Obviously the first challenge would be the vast repertoire and
Sure.
managing a vast data with music. But anything else that you would like to share with the audience as a challenge to be global?
Actually, the challenge is more local, I would agree, because we need more support of local community to support the local services.
Well, in order to obtain the support
I'm
of-
missing your point at the moment, but anyway, it's a kind of a discussion.
Yeah, no.
No, because I thought of what kind of what local services could do more than the global services here locally, and I just imagine, for example, if we discover a great hip-hop artist from, let's say, whatever town in Bulgaria, who's not played on the radio and who's not played on TV, but if we discover it here in our app and if he uploads the music in our app, then we can approach some radios and approach some TV stations, say, hey guys, listen, we have something great, why don't you just give some, why don't you vocalize?
But then I'm the radio and I say, oh, he's not popular.
No.
I'm not interested to put it on my...
It's my role to tell the media, listen, we have something interesting here, why don't you look at it? But the big services cannot do that. That's why I believe in local ones.
Isn't it more? But they're developing local branches that they have
But
local...
you are not right now not talking about streaming service anymore. You are talking about artist management.
I'm talking about developing local content and local repertoire. That's...
Okay, so we have 6 minutes and 17 seconds, and if we... Well, give a final word before we give the
I would
ground
love to have
the-
some questions from the audience if they have to.
So, in terms of, briefly concluding the topic, local versus global streaming platforms challenges, what would be your one sentence? Well, one sentence is not enough. I know.
What was the question?
Okay, I've
start.
developed something locally and then tried to make it global.
Okay. My question was, if we have to give the audience one sentence to sum up the topic, global versus local streaming platforms challenges, what would be your sentence?
To set up a music platform is very challenging. You need to invest a lot of money into it. So normally, based on the population of each market, so it make more sense to bundle the synergy.
Yeah.
So so it's very important to have local and global in the same time. So.
Okay. So my conclusion would be, there is no such thing as global and local. The world is already global. So even if you do something local, it eventually goes global. And if you do something globally, it eventually ends up local. So the challenges for me, my conclusion and understanding are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So we are here, and if you have questions, we would be more than happy to answer.
I have a question.
Okay.
Everyone was complaining, and actually there are, not everyone, but there are even some serious artists, performers opposing streaming, because they claim that Spotify and streaming services destroyed the music industry. So how do you interpret that? Because, for example, Adele is not on Spotify, or was this the right example? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, some artists basically say, no, this is not the right way, this destroyed our industry. And yeah, so in the end the discussion is music streaming, but what is your feeling about that, each one of you?
Thanks for the question, because we actually started the pre-discussion talk there.
So
there. So
but you have to do it in front of audience.
Yeah, for me, this distinguishment between an artist and an entertainer, I disagree, and I said I agree to disagree. Every artist creates to showcase his work, and every artist and every author is entitled to find the way to do this. So if we want to stay arty, and if we want to stay more accessible by a local community, then we stay and we do not take the new developments like streaming services. And this is our right. It is, I don't want to make as much money as I did before, but I will be very faithful to my creative credo.
Okay.
But streaming services are here, and if we want to make money out of what we do, what we create, what we produce, we will have to adjust. I don't think that there is a way back to turn the music industry to where it was in the 90s. It is not possible because the environment is completely different. So I think we need to adjust and to leverage between being completely commercial, from the creation, just considering music as data and letting the computer create it.
So it's more or less a greedy statement from those who think they cannot make as many money as before.
I don't think that their statements are based on the earnings they make. Yeah. This is more a statement of creative credo, and I share their creative credo. If I want to keep my creative credo, I will say I will not make as much money as I would have done if I'm not who I am. But if I want to stay who I am, then I will get less money, or not at all, or I will do some gigs in the clubs, or some concerts, and I won't be on internet. Yeah. So it is, again, a matter of creative credo, rather than a matter of money.
Pinie?
Yeah, streaming service, I have completely different point of view, and streaming service is actually encouraging people to do more music. Recently, I talked to a small Austrian label, and he said, "Oh, you can gain €5,000 out of million streams." So actually, this is a good money for small labels, and also on top, there are artist functions. So the labels, the artists can see where their fans are, and to do the planning for the tours. So they have way more direct control about their community and fans in form of data. And on top, music industry is growing again. The digital revenue is skyrocketing and already surpassed the physical sales. So that's all these numbers actually are proof that the music streaming service is saving the music industry right now.
I shall restrain from comment because
Yeah,
that means another 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes because just one sentence, 700 euro for 1 million hits is
Yes.
not good
Yes.
€5,000.
remuneration.
'It depends. It depends on the territory. It definitely depends on the territories and on the CRM rates. So, what I would just like to answer your question, it's like having the choice to give your music to digital platforms or not, because very popular artists have declined giving their music to digital streaming services, like I think Adele or Katy Perry or Pink Floyd or some of these.
Taylor Swift also had
Yeah,
some
they
special-
were just they banned their music from the streaming services. But still, Zaki was right and Pinie was right. Streaming services are here. This is the future. We cannot just argue that. And the creative industries and the creators should live with it and somehow find the right balance between, like, for example, the price to the end consumer for the service and what the creators will get from this money. This balance is yet to be found, I think, because it's a very big issue for between the services and the right owners. But I'm sure that in the future this will be balanced. And yes, digital, I think, is the future of music.
And as a lawyer, I will wrap it up like that. It's better legal streaming for less money than illegal download.
Okay,
So
fair enough. Thank you very much. Well, a big applause, yeah?
Thank
you.
Thank you.